Hi, our session tonight is about kinesiology. Kinesiology is divided in two words. First word is called kinesis. Kinesis, it means to move. Kinesis is about motion. Ology, it means science. So kinesiology, it's about studying of movement and studying of motion. Studying of movement and studying of motion is important. It's important for rehabilitation of the patient. It's important in musculoskeletal injury. It's important especially in sports injury. Kinesiology is divided into important parts. One part is called kinematics and the other part is called kinetics. In kinematics, when you take example of kinematics, it's about describing the motion without considering the force that is caused it. Please give me example of this. The first example about this is about your phone. When you put it in your table and push the phone forward. When you push the phone forward, the motion is called gliding motion. The phone is gliding. This is called gliding motion. You are describing the motion without describing or considering the forces that is cause the phone to move. This is called kinematics. But when you describe the force that is cause the motion to occur, this is called kinetics. Kinetics, it's about describing the motion. It's about describing the force. Kinematics, it's about describing the motion without considering the force. So the phone is gliding forward. When I'm saying the phone is gliding, this is called the kinematics. When I'm saying I need force of 13 Newton to cause the phone to move, this is called the kinetics. And this is the important difference you need to know. If you join, we will talk about kinematics and kinetics. What about the motion? When we talk about the definition, we talk about kinesiology. Kinesiology means kinesis. Kinesis, it means motion. What about the motion? The motion, it's about the force, and the force needs to move the object from one location to another location. Movement of the object from one location to another location, this is called motion. There is many types of motion, but the most important type you need to know, it's about transitional and rotational. What's about transitional and rotational? Transitional, it's about the example we told you later. It's about the phone. You are pushing the phone forward. When you're pushing the phone forward, the phone is gliding or translate from one place to another. This is called transitional motion. This is called transitional motion. Transitional motion has two types. When you move in a straight line, this is called rectilinear. Rectilinear. Rectilinear in straight line. When you move in curved line, this is called in curved line. Imagine you are going to your home. If you move in a straight line, this is called rectilinear. If you move in curved line, this is called curvilinear. This is the first type of motion. This is called transitional or gliding motion. Second type is called rotational movement. It's about rotate. The important example of this is our clock. Our clock, when you look to our clock, you find something in the middle and the clock is rotate around it. This is called rotational movement. Rotational movement, it's need axis to turn and rotate around this. Rotate in angular motion. This is another name for it. This is called rotational movement, circular movement, or angular movement. The three names of rotational movement. Rotational movement is about turning about axis. When you take example in our body about rotational movement, when we talk about the elbow joint, this is the axis of rotation. When you rotate upward, this is called the movement of the arm and the forearm, and this is called flexion of the elbow. When the movement or rotation occurs downward, this is called extension of the elbow. Here, example in our body about the rotational movement. So we talk about transitional movement, and two types of it. It's called rectilinear in straight line, curvilinear in curved line, and another type, it's about rotational movement or angular or circular motion which occur around an axis. Second part we will talk about, it's about planes. We have three cardinal planes. When you imagine a line, this line bisects the body into parts. This line passing forward and bisects the body in two parts, right part and left part. This is called sagittal plane. Sagittal plane, when you imagine a saw, that bisect and dissect the body in two parts and come from interior to posterior and bisect the body in two parts, right part and left part. This is called sagittal plane. Another plane is called frontal plane or lateral plane, which comes from lateral, from the middle of your head and bisect your body into interior part and posterior part, and this is called frontal plane. The third plane is called horizontal plane. Horizontal plane comes from his name horizontal. He comes horizontally and divides the body into up or upper or superior part and inferior part. This is called horizontal plane. This is planes through which movement occurs, not around. Through which movement occurs. When we talk about sagittal plane, when you move in flexion and move your arm in flexion, your arm will move all through the sagittal plane. When you move in extension, the arm moves through the sagittal plane. This is movement occur. This movement of flexion or extension occurs through sagittal plane. When you move your arm in abduction or adduction towards the body, this moves through the frontal plane. So the movement of abduction occur in frontal plane. The movement of flexion or extension occur in sagittal plane. Movement of internal and external rotation occur in horizontal plane. When we move in internal rotation, rotate your arm inward, this is called internal rotation. Rotate your arm outward, this is called external rotation, and this is occur around the horizontal plane. So you have three cardinal planes. It's important. It's important to know that our motion doesn't follow exactly these planes. There is no movement in our life occurs only in sagittal plane or only on frontal plane or only in horizontal plane. Movement follow many planes together. When I ask you to get me this cup of water, we are going to do flexion with adduction. You follow many planes together. So movement occurs mainly in our life, occurs in diagonal and follow many planes together. This is important thing to understand and related in clinical way by asking the patient to do something called task-oriented, improving function of the patient, not just flexion, extension, abduction, but improving the function of the patient. Second thing you need to know, it's about axis. Axis, it's about the axis around which rotation occur. Plane, it's through it the movement occur. Axis, it's about around it the movement occur. So when you talk about vertical axis, when we imagine that axis in the middle, the motion that occurs around this axis is outward rotation or inward rotation. When you imagine vertical axis passing through the middle line of the bone, when motion occurs outward is called outward rotation. When movement occurs inward is called internal rotation. Imagine another axis passing from the middle of the body to lateral of the body. This is called mediolateral axis. If you imagine the mediolateral axis, when the movement occurs around it, upward is called causes flexion. Downward is called extension. Imagine another axis. This is axis interior, posterior, passing from the interior to the posterior. When motion occurs in towards lateral aspect, this is called abduction. When it occurs in towards the middle aspect, this is called adduction. This is the axis of the interior, posterior. Motion occur lateral causes abduction. Occur medial causing adduction. So vertical axis around which internal and external rotation occur, mediolateral axis around which flexion and extension occur, TV posterior around which abduction and adduction occur. The last point we need to talk is called osteokinematics and arthrokinematics. What is the difference between them? Osteo, it means bone. Kinematics, it means motion. It's about the movement of the bone. It's the motion we are talking about. It's flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. This is movement of the bone causing flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, and this is all called osteokinematics. And called another name called physiological movement. This is called physiological movement and osteokinematics. What about the arthrokinematics? Arthrokinematics, arthro, it means joint, means the movement that occur inside the joint. What's the movement occur inside the joint? When I ask you to move in abduction, inside the joint there is movement. There is movement inferior glide. Inferior glide. There is gliding the head of the humerus inside of the glenoid cavity inferior. And the rolling. This is movement inside the joint that you can't see. But this movement is important. It's important for movement of osteokinematics. So osteokinematics, to osteokinematics occur normally, you need the arthrokinematics to be normally. This is clinical importance and making something like mobilization. You do mobilization to improve the movement of arthrokinematics, to improve the movement of osteokinematics. We do inferior glide to improve the movement of abduction. So you improve the movement of arthrokinematics to improve the movement of osteokinematics. Thanks.